everyone. My name is Kelly Dworka, and I wanted to hop on this video to give my testimony on how I saw Jesus and he gave me victory and triumph in dealing with schizophrenia. Basically, I was assaulted, and the trauma made me to develop schizophrenia, and I had to get on medication and spend about 7 months in the hospital in about 4 years. And so, I began to seek God for healing, and I was seeking him with my whole heart because, this disease doesn't have a cure. And so I began to Google and search for ministries, deliverance ministries and healing ministries. I had traveled to different churches in my city and even gone to New Jersey from Canada 2 times. And overall, I was never healed. But then one night, the Lord led me to Google 24/7 Miracle Prayer Line. And the first option that came up was called Joshua Media Ministries International. And so I decided to call in, and I left a message, and that was when my life changed. They ended up calling me back, and they introduced me to something called Face-to-Face Appearances with Jesus by David E. Taylor. Basically, this man, David E. Taylor, is the Moses of our generation. He's a face-to-face prophet and apostle called to bring a meeting between God and the people of earth face-to-face, where you can see God and see Jesus and the Holy Spirit right in front of your face, and spend time with them where you can see them and talk to them and not just hear their voice, but hear the words coming out of their mouth and see them right in front of your face. So this was in November of 2022, or ending of October. And I bought the book. It came a couple of days later from America, and I began to read the book. And so I was already schizophrenic by this time and on medication. I had already spent almost 7 months in the hospital over the last couple of years, because I had it since 2017, and it was now 2020, the end of the year. So in 2021 of March, I was in the hospital again. And when I was in the hospital, it was a Thursday. And I was walking through the halls because there's not much to do in the hospital except walk around. And so as I was walking, I saw blue sparkly smoke randomly in the hallway. And I saw it, and I was dumbfounded. I was like, I know that I'm not imagining this. I'm looking at it. It's real. But I didn't know what it was, because I didn't know what it was, but it turns out that it was God. And so I walked past it, got to the end of the hallway, turned around and saw it again and walked past it again. And then when I came back around, it was gone. That night, I had my first face-to-face appearance from Jesus Christ. I went to sleep in the hospital on a Thursday night, and I had a dream, and I saw Jesus on the cross. And when I saw him on the cross, just re-talking about it now is touching my heart. He looked so humble and so loving. He was just staring at me, and his eyes were so amazing and full of love and humility. And when I woke up, I was like, wow, I just saw Jesus. And that day I was released from the hospital. That was March 1st, the ending of February. So the next day when I woke up, it was Friday, March 1st. And I went home, I was happy, and then something led me to start really going after my healing. I knew that here Jesus is really here and working with Apostle David E. Taylor. And so I knew that from seeing all the miracles happening, that I could get my own miracle here. So I really began to call in almost every day, talk to pastors every day on Facebook and calling in. I was calling in at least once every week. And then on March 16th, I went to sleep on March 15th, and I was listening to Apostle Taylor's live stream on YouTube, Miracles in America with David E. Taylor. And in my dream, I heard the TV on, and Apostle was praying for people to have visitations from Jesus. All of a sudden, I stopped hearing that, and I heard a woman say, "I looked to the left and I saw Jesus." I just heard her say that. I didn't see anything. It was all black. When I woke up, I was in my bed. I was right there. And I looked to the left, and I didn't see Jesus. But then I looked to the right, and I saw this mirror. And in that mirror, I saw into my bathroom. And when I looked into my bathroom through the mirror, I saw a man standing there. And it was Jesus. He was almost the same height as the door, because he's about 6 feet tall. He had sandy brown hair and brown eyes and fair skin. And he was just standing there. And at first, like when I woke up, I was scared to see Jesus because I didn't know him that well. I didn't know what it was like to be around him. Although I thought that I knew him and I loved him and all this stuff, I didn't really know him. So I had a misunderstanding about him and how it would be. So I was scared. But as soon as I laid my eyes on him, I felt so calm and this peace and love and everything wash over me. I felt a rebuke to my pride from his presence. And I began to behold him and look at him from top to bottom, from the bottom to top actually. And when I got up to his eyes, I was just sucked into his eyes. I was just staring at his eyes. I wasn't blinking. I was just lost in his eyes. And I felt all this love like wash over me, and everything inside me was washed with this love. It was so amazing. And I was like that for a few moments, just staring at him until he released me. And I was able to just look at him normally. And I looked away and looked back, and I got caught in his smile this time. He was smiling at me, and I saw his teeth were white and sparkling. And I kind of got lost in his smile for a few moments. And then as I was looking at him, he slowly began to crouch down behind the door, and then he was gone. And so after a few moments, I got up and went to look behind the door where he had crouched down, and there was no trace of him. But I knew that I had just seen Jesus, and I was so happy and so thankful to Apostle David and to God for sending Jesus to me. And so I started to think, check if you hear any more voices, because that was my symptom of schizophrenia, to hear voices that weren't there. And I started to listen, and I didn't have any more voices. My thinking was clearer. I knew that I had been healed, and I called into the ministry, and I told them. And from that day, March 16th, 2021, I never dealt with hearing voices or delusions or acting out because of schizophrenia. And I want to give God the praise for that. and thank him again, and thank Apostle that that wouldn't have happened without him, because I wouldn't have ever paid the price by myself to see Jesus. I'm basically an heir of my spiritual father, Apostle David, that paid the price, and I was able to receive because he paid the price. And so the point of this is that I want to share how that was the victory, that God gave me the victory over schizophrenia. He cured me. But now I want to share how I got the triumph. So after I was healed, I was so happy. I came off my medication because I knew I didn't need it. And immediately I was like, I'm never going to have to go back to the hospital. And this was the middle of March. By the end of March, I had ended up back in the hospital, not because I was sick, but because I had made a mistake at home. And my parents told me that if I didn't get back on medication, then I wouldn't be allowed to stay there anymore. So I knew that I didn't need the medication, but I ended up back in the hospital anyways. And here's where I got the triumph, because when I spoke to my doctor told me, you're no longer sick anymore. You're not in psychosis, you're not in an episode. And usually with schizophrenia, when you have an episode, you just continue to get worse and worse. And that was how bad I was before. But when he saw me, he told me, like, you're better now. So that was how I got the triumph. And, you know, I learned from Apostle Taylor that you don't have to know everything that God is going to do. And if you want to know everything that he's going to do before you obey him, then you don't have the right heart to trust him. And so at first I was a little bit sad that although I was not sick anymore, I ended up back in the hospital. But overall, that was a part of God's sovereign plan to give me the triumph, to give me the spoils. Yes, I knew that I was healed, but he wanted me to go back to the doctor to prove to the doctor that I was healed also. And that's exactly what happened. And so, yes, that is my story of how I got the victory, and then God gave me the triumph over schizophrenia. And it wasn't a part of my plan, but it was a part of his plan. And his plan was way better than anything that I planned. I didn't even think of this. I didn't think that I wanted the doctor to know I wasn't sick. I didn't think about any of that. But God did. And I'm so thankful that he did that and that he didn't listen to me. And yes, that's all. God bless you. Bye.